Welkom terug. Ons gesels vanaand met Stephen McGown oor die 6 jaar wat hy in die Sahara aangehou is deur Al-Qaïda. Terwyl die regering voete gesleep het om hom op te spoor en vrygelaat te kry, het Imtiaz Suleiman van Gift of the Givers dit reg gekry om Stephen opgespoor te kry en 'n reuse rol gespeel in sy uiteindelike vrylating in Augustus 2017.
At one stage I said to the guy when both Durko and Ernst were there, I said, there's no one in this room. I said, please, no skin off your nose or that. I said this, but this is the fact. There's no one in this room who can get my son released. This has to be much, much higher. I'd already got into trouble with one of the ministers sort of saying to me, no, you've got to follow protocol. I said, no, I don't. I said, it's my son.
The corruption of his governments, where me, because I was South African, meant absolutely nothing to anybody, and the French would just leave me as collateral damage, really makes me angry. If the French wanted to debrief me, not a chance, mate. But there are other governments who were more empathetic towards my family, who helped my family. My family was going through absolute crisis. So whoever would help my family, I'm eternally indebted towards those people.
When I was supposedly talking to the second in command of the Malian Secret Service, I got hold of him and, oh yes, $100,000 and, we'll get the team going out there. I said, listen, understand. I said, our South African rand is a poor, weak currency. It's not like pounds or euros. Oh, well, no, let's get the team to the area, send $3,000. And so you send $3,000. And so it goes, and then they need more food, and now they're there. But now they've heard, no, the guys have been held in the east of the country, so just give me some money to get there. And from this side, you don't know what's happening. And
even when Al-Qaïda said to me, there's a good chance that you're going to go home today, I asked them, what's the percentage? And they said, maybe 60%. I literally rolled my eyes and said, keep your stories. I've heard 90% before. So I'd had so many false dawns regarding going home in the past. That's my entire being, my entire body wanted to believe them. But I physically was not able to allow my mind to believe them because it was like a huge kick in the stomach. Every time they said you're going to go home and then you'd wait a month, 2 months, 3 months, and you didn't go home, it was exhausting, mentally, emotionally exhausting.
We met Mighty Mashabani, the Minister of Foreign Affairs at that time, and we met them at the airport. And eventually I had to say to her, Minister, do you mind if I have a few words now? And she looked at me, sort of big surprise, says, yes. And so I said to her, Minister, you've got children? And she said, yes. I said, well, can you put yourself in my shoes if one of your child was gone? You'd be wanting action. I said, then please, I don't want Stephen left in file 13. I said, I know you've got a lot on your plate and all the rest of it, but, just think of it as your child. She never had the decency in the year that followed to once phone Kath and say, how are you? And, of course, then we got involved with Imtiaz Suleiman. And, because he had dealt with the previous hostages and things like that. And Imtiaz managed to find a chap from Mali who he could send up. Anyway, I finally then typed a letter to President Zuma and I emailed it to him. And 2 days later, I went through to the union buildings with my copy, with 2 copies. And I said to the security guards, I said, this is the position. I'm not leaving here till I've either seen the president or his personal assistant. Then eventually I had the personal assistant and he stamped, he said, you'll hear from us within a week, 2 weeks. And it took longer than that, but I then got a phone call from the then Minister of State Security, David Mashlobo, and I got a meeting with him and his Deputy General of West Africa, a lady, and she was very, very good. If I phoned, she'd return the call or she would answer and say, this is what's happening.
It was about a 5-day process. We drove a long way through the desert, and ultimately I ended up with the Malian Secret Services. And from there, I then was brought back to Johannesburg in a private jet from Mali. My wife and I had been apart for 6 years and only married for 4 years. So were we still married? I had no idea. My dad, was there so much trauma within my family that there was anger? I had no idea. So literally I got home back to my family house, and I pretty much just had to grit my teeth and think, well, what you're walking into here is something you just have to deal with. You know.
Then at 8 o'clock the bell went, and there's this big Land Rover, and the two guys come in and they say, look, we've been told. So I said, what's going on? They said, no, we've just been told, we don't know. We've just been told to come sit here and wait for communications. So I phoned Kath. I said, Kath, look, I'm not sure what's going on. Of course, you know, your mind goes through acrobats. And I eventually said, listen, if you're going to say to us to come to the airport just now, I said, please, I want you to, whatever's happening, just let them know that they must tell Stephen, I don't want him jumping out the car and giving Kath a hug and giving me a hug and saying, where's Mom? And of course, the next thing, there's this Land Rover and a big black Mercedes, I think it was, and another Land Rover behind. And out popped Stephen like a jack in the boxes. It's just there, he's home. So you can imagine, that was quite an arrival.
When I arrived at the house, you know, I wasn't expecting to see him there. So when I saw him, I didn't recognize him at all. He actually looked like a hippie. And I sort of thought, no. But then when he stood up and he looked at me, and then I saw the characteristic smile, I knew it was him. And then he walked towards me. And then he just hugged me, and you know, I just felt that, okay, he's home, my Stevie's home.
Really, one of my biggest fears now is that I forget what I learned in the desert and I fall back into my old ways, because that would be tragic.
Wat 'n merkwaardige storie van werklik merkwaardige mense. Hierdie is egter net 'n voorsmaakie van wat jy in die boek gaan lees. So maak seker jy kry Stephen McGown se boek in die hande. Hy is deesdae 'n spreker wat kruis en dwars oor die wêreld vlieg en mense motiveer. Laat weet ons wat jy dink van Stephen hulle se storie. Gesels saam op sosiale media of stuur vir ons 'n e-pos na prontuit@aktueel.tv. Tot volgende week, mooi bly.